Welcome back to the deep dive. Really glad to have you with us today.
Great to be here.
We're embarking on, well, another pretty fascinating journey, I think. We're focusing on a figure whose life, let's face it, has shaped millennia.
Absolutely. Hard to overstate the impact.
Today, though, we're doing something maybe a bit more intimate. We're looking at a period that often gets overlooked.
Right.
The life of Jesus Christ in his childhood and youth. It's this time that's often shrouded in a bit of mystery, a kind of quiet prelude to everything that came later.
That silence is intriguing in itself, isn't it?
It really is. And our guide for this exploration is Navid Sadooli. We're specifically digging into chapter 2 of his book, Lessons and Truths.
A really insightful work.
Yeah, because this era, infancy through the teen years, it's surprisingly sparse in the main accounts. People often just jump ahead.
Straight to the public ministry, the miracles, the teachings.
Mm-hmm.
Understandable, but you miss the foundation.
Exactly. But Sadooli finds these, profound insights, these lessons, hidden in those less explored years. He kind of turns the gaps into opportunities.
He really does. He extracts meaning from what isn't explicitly detailed.
Which is why it's so intriguing what wisdom is hiding there in those quiet beginnings. So our mission, like always, is to unpack Sadooli's key insights from his unique perspective. We want to distill what's most important for you listening in to take away. We're not just recounting history.
No, it's about the meaning, the so what.
Precisely. And Sadooli sets the stage brilliantly. He opens this chapter with this really evocative poem. It just captures the essence. Let me read it quickly. The stars of the night bear witness that in the heart of this earth, God walks. A child who rested in his mother's embrace, but filled hearts with light and truth.
Wow, that hits right away, doesn't it?
It does. It signals we're looking beyond the mundane, even in these humble beginnings.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's get into what Sadooli reveals about these formative years. Yeah, that poem is, it's the perfect starting point. It really frames Sadooli's whole approach in this chapter.
How so?
Well, he's inviting us right from the start to see the divine, not just in the big flashy miracles or the supernatural stuff,
Right.
but in the everyday, in the ordinary fabric of life, right from Jesus's earliest moments. God walks in the heart of this earth. That line. It's this beautiful affirmation of immanence.
Immanence, meaning God present in the world, not just separate from it.
Exactly. It acknowledges the humble human reality, a baby in his mother's arms, but at the same time, affirms this profound, world-changing spiritual impact. It grounds the extraordinary in the ordinary.
Okay, I see that.
And that's a theme we'll see over and over again in Sadooli's analysis here. Exploring these early years is just so crucial because it gives us the context, the foundation for everything that follows.
The ministry, the teachings, the sacrifice.
All of it. Sadooli is brilliant at connecting those seemingly small details of childhood to these much larger, universal truths. He's not just filling historical gaps, he's pulling out spiritual principles from the silence.
So even where the text is quiet, there are lessons.
If you look with an open heart, yes, that's his point.
Yeah.
And it kind of fits a precedent for how we might view our own lives too, doesn't it?
How do you mean?
Well, maybe divinity or profound meaning can be found within our everyday, seemingly ordinary experiences too.
That's a powerful thought. The ordinary as a vessel for the extraordinary. And that leads us right into the first main point Sadooli tackles, Jesus' upbringing in Nazareth.
Right. The setting.
Sadooli paints this picture of a simple village. He really emphasizes there were no palaces or wealth.
No grandeur at all.
Not a bustling city, not a center of power or learning, just a small, maybe even looked down upon community.
Kind of a backwater in the eyes of some contemporaries. Can anything good come out of Nazareth, as the later question goes?
Exactly. So instead of this grand stage you might expect, Sadooli shows Jesus living a very ordinary life, growing up with his mother Mary and Joseph the carpenter.
Just a normal family in many ways.
And Sadooli brings up that very question you mentioned, the one from Matthew's gospel. Isn't this the carpenter's son?
It underscores just how unremarkable his beginnings seemed to outsiders.
Right. No external signs pointing to this incredible destiny, just a kid in a village, son of a craftsman. It really highlights the unpretentiousness of it all.
It does.
So what does Sadooli make of this? How does he interpret this seemingly mundane start? What's the big lesson he draws?
Oh, this is where Sadooli really digs deep.
Yeah.
He doesn't just state the fact Jesus grew up in Nazareth. He elevates it. It becomes a foundational spiritual principle for him.
Okay.
He elaborates quite a bit on this idea that greatness isn't necessarily found in extravagance or grandeur,
That directly pushes back against how we usually think.
Yeah.
We associate importance with status, wealth, big displays.
Totally. We're drawn to the magnificent, the acclaimed. We expect heroes, especially divine ones, to come from impressive settings.
Palaces or great cities.
Exactly. But Sadooli argues that the real essence of Jesus' greatness, even as a youth, didn't come from his environment in that material sense.
Not from the outside trappings.
No, it actually blossomed from an internal quality. And he argues it was cultivated precisely because of the simple surroundings. He connects this simplicity directly to a deeper concept: humility.
Simplicity breeds humility.
That's the connection he makes. He states it very clearly in the text, and it's worth quoting. Indeed, it comes from the heart of simplicity and humility.
Okay.
So for Sadooli, Nazareth isn't just a dot on a map. It's like a crucible for character. It embodies this principle.
So it's more than geography, it's theology.
Precisely. It's a powerful theological principle. It teaches that God, or divine truth, isn't limited to specific grand places or important people.
It can show up anywhere.
Anywhere, often in the everyday, in the ordinary, and fundamentally through humility. And this perspective is, well, pretty revolutionary because it just challenges our basic expectations about how a divine figure should be raised.
We expect the pomp and circumstance.
Right. Kings and palaces, prophets from grand temples. But Sadooli highlights this profound truth. The most transformative presence can emerge from the most unassuming place, like Nazareth, and from a humble background, like a carpenter's family.
So it's less about where you are and more about who you are and how you relate to the world.
That's exactly it. It shifts the focus inward. It's about the state of the heart cultivated in simplicity.
That's a really powerful reframing, but it makes me think our world today is anything but simple. We're constantly bombarded with images of success, grandeur, aspiration.
Nonstop.
So how does Sadooli suggest we, reconcile this modern drive for external validation with that lesson of humility from Nazareth? Where do we find that heart of simplicity today?
That's a great practical question. Because Sadooli isn't just doing history here. He's offering maybe a spiritual blueprint.
Okay.
He's suggesting the challenge for us in this world obsessed with flash and status, where success is often measured externally.
Yeah, likes, followers, possessions.
Right. The challenge is to consciously recalibrate what we value and what really marks importance or impact. Sadooli would argue finding truth, meaning genuine greatness in simplicity and humility, isn't about, rejecting everything material.
It's not about becoming a monk, necessarily.
Not necessarily. It's more about an internal posture, an attitude.
Okay, what does that look like?
It means not letting external circumstances define your worth or your connection to the divine or whatever you hold sacred. It means recognizing the inherent dignity in ordinary life, in simple acts and humble service.
So finding value where society might not put a spotlight.
Exactly. That heart of simplicity could mean cultivating contentment, maybe. Finding joy in quiet moments, real connections, contributing without needing applause.
Looking beyond the superficial.
Yes. Seeking the substantial and the unadorned. Sadooli suggests true spiritual power resides in that internal state of humility and openness, an inner landscape, not an outer display.
An inner landscape. I like that.
It's really a call to reevaluate what we chase after, what we truly cherish, and maybe finding a different kind of richness in that process.
A richness in the unadorned that definitely makes you pause and think about your own priorities. Okay, so from that foundation of humility in Nazareth, Sadooli moves to another key moment, one that sparks a lot of curiosity.
Yes. The temple incident.
Jesus at age 12 in the Jerusalem temple. We know the story from Luke's gospel. He gets separated from his parents during the festival.
Panic for any parent.
Absolutely. And they find him later sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions.
Not just lost and crying, but actively engaged.
Right. And what Sadooli emphasizes is how he engaged. He wasn't just a kid asking naive questions. He was astonishing these, seasoned religious scholars with his deep understanding and questions.
Questions far beyond his age, as Sadooli notes.
These were the intellectual and spiritual heavyweights of the time, and this 12-year-old is holding his own, maybe even challenging them.
It's an incredible image.
And then his parents find him, obviously relieved, but probably a bit exasperated, and Jesus says that famous line, "Why were you searching for me? Did you not know that I must be in my Father's house?"
Already showing that awareness of his unique purpose.
Exactly. Now, Sadooli doesn't just tell this story like, wow, what a smart kid. He sees something deeper. What's the message he's conveying here about truth, wisdom, And maybe spiritual development, especially related to age.
Yeah, Sadooli goes way beyond just child prodigy.
Yeah.
His main takeaway here is profoundly countercultural, I think. He says, reaching truth is not very much related to age.
Not related to age. That pushes against everything, doesn't it? We assume wisdom comes with gray hair and decades of experience.
We do. We equate maturity, insight, spiritual depth with chronological seniority, with formal learning. But Sadooli challenges that directly. He suggests this inherent capacity for truth can manifest very early.
Bubbling up from an unburdened spirit, you said earlier.
Something like that. And he connects this to that other verse from Luke, which he also mentions. Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and men.
So the growth was intellectual and spiritual, too, happening right alongside the physical.
Yes. And Sadooli's point isn't just to show Jesus was special, although he was. It's to demonstrate a kind of universal principle that spiritual growth and deep understanding can begin very early.
Okay, but what's the key ingredient then, if not age?
According to Sadooli, what's primarily required is only an open heart.
An open heart. What does that mean in this context, more than just being nice?
Oh, much more. It implies this profound willingness to learn, to question deeply, not superficially, to seek answers beyond the surface level, and crucially, to be receptive to higher truths, regardless of your age or education.
So it's about receptivity and deep curiosity.
Yes, that kind of unencumbered willingness, maybe combined with an innate spiritual capacity, allows for this accelerated, profound development. It sort of bypasses the usual stages and expectations, like a direct channel maybe, unblocked by years of assumptions.
Okay, so it's not just being smart, it's a quality of engagement with truth, an open heart. That really challenges a lot of our systems today, doesn't it? Education is age-based. We often dismiss young people's insights.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes as adults we get, well, less open, more rigid. How does Sadooli's take on the temple incident speak to that? And what does it mean for us trying to foster an open heart in our own search for knowledge at whatever age we are?
Exactly. The implications are huge for how we approach learning and spirituality our whole lives. Sadooli's interpretation holds up a mirror to our societal habits.
How so?
We often treat the young as just empty vessels to be filled with facts, right? Instead of recognizing they might be sources of deep insight or profound questions or have their own spiritual intuition.
Yeah, we can easily shut down a kid's really probing question because it makes us uncomfortable or seems naive.
Or dismiss their spiritual feelings as just imagination. Sadooli pushes back on that. And for adults, that concept of the open heart becomes even more vital, maybe even harder.
Why harder?
Because we have more baggage, more assumptions, more ingrained beliefs. Sadooli suggests an open heart for an adult means actively cultivating a beginner's mind, being willing to unlearn things.
To re-examine what we think we know.
Yes, to approach truth with genuine curiosity again, like maybe we did as kids before we were told how things are. It means humility in the face of how much we don't know.
Listening deeply, not just formulating a reply.
Listening to others, listening to that inner spiritual sense, maybe, it raises that question for all of us listening. How can we, at whatever age, pursue truth like this? What does it take to really foster that open heart, intellectually and spiritually?
Are we maybe putting age limits on wisdom without realizing it for ourselves or others?
That's the question Sadooli prompts. He uses this story of young Jesus to suggest that seeking truth is this lifelong journey, starting with inner receptivity, a curiosity that shouldn't fade with age, and a willingness to wrestle with the big questions.
It's a powerful call to keep learning, keep questioning, keep that heart open, even when the world seems to want us to close it off with easy answers.
Exactly, a lifelong inquiry fueled by that openness.
That's a brilliant frame. An open heart, regardless of age, as the gateway, really makes you reflect. Okay, now shifting gears a little from the spiritual and intellectual. Sadooli also highlights something very practical, something less discussed about Jesus' youth, his involvement in carpentry. He makes a point of mentioning Jesus working alongside Joseph, not just hanging around, but working.
Part of the family trade, an active contributor.
And Sadooli implies this shows how important work and effort are in life, especially considering the hardships of that time.
It wasn't easy work, physically demanding, required skill, patience.
No power tools. And daily labor wasn't optional. It was essential for survival, for the family, for the community. This feels incredibly grounding, this detail.
It really does. It balances the picture.
Yeah, it's a counterpoint to the wisdom in the temple. It shows this very tangible, practical side. So how does Sadooli integrate this earthly dimension of labor alongside the spiritual depth? How does he reconcile those two things?
You're right, it's crucial for his holistic view.
Mm.
Sadooli elaborates quite strongly that a spiritual life is not separate from worldly responsibility.
Not separate. That's huge. Because often people do separate them, right? Spirituality is for Sunday or meditation time, not for the workshop or the office.
Precisely. Sadooli directly challenges that split by highlighting Jesus doing this common demanding trade. He suggests those years of manual labor weren't just something to get through, they were part of his formation.
How so? What was formative about it?
Well, Sadooli places significant value on labor and daily effort. It's not just about earning bread, though that was vital. It's about the dignity in honest work. It's about the lessons you learn through physical effort, through solving problems with your hands, through needing precision, patience, through the simple act of contributing something tangible to your family and community.
So it grounds the spiritual in reality.
Yes, exactly. It shows the divine can manifest even through, the calloused hands of a carpenter. It demonstrates that a life aimed at higher truths doesn't mean you escape the practical demands of the world.
If anything, Sadooli seems to suggest it enriches it.
I think so, that spirituality isn't an escape from the world, but a way of being in the world, imbuing every action, even manual labor, with meaning and purpose.
So finding spiritual significance in the work itself, not just waiting for the spiritual parts of the day, that's a big shift. But today, work can feel, thankless sometimes. People feel disconnected. How might Sadooli's insights help with that, connecting to the dignity of labor or resilience he talks about?
That's the core of it. Sadooli asks us to rethink work itself. He'd argue the dignity isn't just in the type of work, but the attitude.
How you approach it.
Exactly. Carpentry back then wasn't just a job. It was a vital craft, building homes, tools, things the community needed. It demanded focus, skill, integrity. It provided real benefit. Sadooli suggests Jesus' spiritual core informed his work, making it a form of service, reflecting his character.
So it connects to integrity, living a whole life where values infuse actions.
Yes, a holistic life.
Yeah.
His carpentry years for Sadooli show resilience, contributing, the idea that all work done with intention can be service. It's a testament that our daily tasks, even the boring or tough ones, have spiritual weight.
They build character, teach diligence.
Connect us to the basic human experience. Sadooli offers this as an antidote to that modern alienation from work. Find purpose in what you do. Bring your whole self, your values, to the task. See it as part of your integrated spiritual journey.
That's a really beautiful integration, a full human experience, grounded and purposeful.
Okay, but speaking of earthly realities, Sadooli doesn't just focus on the positive. He also brings in the danger.
Right. The peril wasn't absent. He introduces danger and divine protection, a stark contrast to quiet Nazareth or the workshop. He specifically mentions the flight to Egypt.
It's from Matthew's Gospel. Joseph warned in a dream.
To take Mary and the infant Jesus and flee to Egypt because Herod was trying to kill the child. Herod's decree against the boys in Bethlehem.
A truly terrifying situation.
Sadooli uses this to underscore that Jesus' life had threats from childhood. Right from the start, peril. Imagine the fear, the uncertainty, the hardship of suddenly escaping to a foreign land.
Fleeing for your life with a baby. It's intense.
A direct threat to his existence. So what's fascinating is how Sadooli weaves this in alongside humility, wisdom, work. How does he interpret these dangers? What's the message about divine protection amidst such real adversity?
What Sadooli does so powerfully here is present this sophisticated juxtaposition. On one side, you have the human effort, the carpentry, the daily life, the earthly work and worldly responsibility we just talked about.
Right, the things people do.
And on the other side, you have this unwavering faith in God's protection, even when facing literal deadly danger like Herod's decree.
So it's not about avoiding danger?
Not necessarily. It seems to be about navigating it, moving through it with this profound trust that goes beyond the immediate fear. Sadooli shows that divine protection isn't always a magic shield deflecting all harm,
Okay.
but rather a guiding presence through the dangerous path.
A guide through it, not necessarily around it.
That seems to be the emphasis. And Sadooli points directly to the core message from the chapter's summary, which is really relevant for everyone. He says, in all circumstances, even when the world is against us, God will always be our protector and guide. In days of fear and danger, we must not forget that God is always with us and illuminates the path.
That's a powerful assurance.
It is, and it's woven right into Jesus' childhood story. Sadooli argues this combination, human effort, resilience, and trust in divine guidance, gives a more realistic and complex picture of those early years.
So faith isn't passive waiting.
No, it's active trust, alongside human action. Joseph had to get up and go. God provided the warning, the guidance, the protection for that action. It's dynamic.
Active trust within human action, that's a key distinction. But it sounds really hard. How does Sadooli suggest we cultivate that kind of trust? Believing God illuminates the path when our own paths feel, well, dark or confusing, or when the world is against us in less obvious ways than Herod.
That's the deep application Sadooli is aiming for. He knows our modern fear and danger might be economic anxiety or mental health struggles or global crises or just feeling totally misunderstood or attacked.
Yeah, the threats feel different, but just as real.
Exactly. Sadooli's lesson from the flight to Egypt is that in those moments, our human part is to act, seek solutions, adapt, move like Joseph did, but to do it with this underlying trust that we're not abandoned.
Okay, but how do you get that trust when you're in the thick of it?
He suggests cultivating it might start by realizing the illumination isn't always a giant spotlight showing the whole map. Maybe it's just small guiding lights.
Like a next step, or a helpful person appearing.
Exactly. A sense of inner direction, maybe. External help at the right time. It's about developing an awareness of that divine presence in the details, like his earlier point about God in the everyday.
So it connects back to that.
It does. It offers this lesson about living with both human agency and divine trust. Even Jesus, in this account, experienced vulnerability and needed that divine intervention to survive. It's not magic. It's guidance in peril. It suggests when we feel most vulnerable, maybe that's when we're most open to receiving that guidance.
It's an interesting thought, vulnerability as openness.
So for us listening, it's about balancing our own efforts, our responsibilities, with that trust in a guiding presence, especially in times of fear. Sadooli's insight offers comfort, but also a call to a deeper faith that holds both our human fragility and God's presence together. It encourages acting with courage and trust.
Courage and trust. That really brings all these different threads, humility, wisdom, work, danger, trust, together beautifully. It paints a very rich picture of those formative years.
Right.
So let's try to summarize the main points from Sadooli's chapter, pulling it all together.
Sounds good.
He identifies several main themes, or axes, right? Each offering lessons for us. First, there's the huge value he places on humility and simplicity shown by Nazareth.
Right. Greatness in the ordinary.
Second, the potential for deep spiritual growth and wisdom early on, regardless of age, like we saw in the temple story. The open heart idea.
Wisdom isn't just for the old.
Third, the importance of daily work and effort. Carpentry wasn't incidental, it was integral. Spirituality isn't separate from practical life.
The dignity of labor, the holistic life.
And finally, the reality of danger, but also the presence of divine protection and guidance through it, like the flight to Egypt.
Human action coupled with divine trust.
It's a really comprehensive way to look at those hidden years, blending the human and the divine aspect.
It really is. And if we zoom out just a bit, the essence of Sadooli's whole argument in this chapter, I think, is that God's truth, God's love, can blossom from all these experiences, even the ones that seem mundane or difficult.
Simplicity, work, seeking knowledge, even facing danger.
Yes. He's fundamentally asking us to shift our perspective, to see that divine presence isn't just for the big moments, the miracles, the later teachings. It was being nurtured all along.
Through the everyday stuff.
Exactly. He really reinforces that God is not only in big and strange events, but also in the details of everyday life. He wants us to look for the divine in the mundane, find meaning right where we are.
Believing every moment has potential.
Right. And he concludes with this enduring message that ties it all together. Life isn't just a sequence of events. It's a rich combination.
A tapestry, you called it earlier.
Yes, a combination of seeking truth, maintaining humility, striving in work, and simultaneously spiritual growth. It's all interwoven.
Not compartmentalized.
No. An integrated, dynamic journey. And crucially, he emphasizes that even in the most ordinary or difficult moments, one can see a trace of God's presence and guidance.
Even in the ordinary or difficult.
That's a powerful affirmation. It suggests no part of our experience, however small or hard, is outside God's attention. It's an invitation to cultivate that awareness, to see God's hand in everything, from doing our job to facing our fears, finding meaning in the whole picture, not just the highlights.
That is an incredibly profound and deeply comforting thought to reflect on. Integrating the spiritual with the everyday so completely, it really does challenge you to look at your own life differently. And maybe a good question, the provocative thought this leaves for you, our listener, is this. How can these lessons Sadooli pulled from Jesus's early life, the simplicity, the humility, the open-hearted search for truth, that trust and guidance, how can they actually be applied to your complex life today?
Not just theoretically, but practically.
Exactly. For example, where could you actively choose simplicity in one area that feels too complicated? What freedom might come from that?
Or how could you approach a mundane task, maybe at work or home, with a new sense of purpose, seeing it as service?
Right. Or when you're facing uncertainty, real fear, what would it look like to actively search for those small, illuminated next steps, trusting in that guidance instead of just spiraling?
Good questions.
These aren't just abstract concepts. Sadooli is really inviting us to practice them, to find those traces of divine presence in our own ordinary or challenging moments.
And that's the real power of his insights, isn't it? Moving from just understanding it intellectually
Hearing about humility?
to actually practicing it. Or moving from knowing about divine protection to truly trusting it when things get rough for you personally. That's where the transformation happens.
Yeah.
His chapter really suggests these profound lessons aren't just for historical figures or saints, but for every single one of us right now in the middle of our messy, complicated, beautiful lives. It's a call to live more consciously.
A powerful call indeed. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Navid Sadooli's Lessons and Truths, specifically Chapter 2. It's been really enriching to unpack these insights with you.
My pleasure. It's fascinating material.
We definitely look forward to digging into the next chapter of Sadooli's book in our next deep dive. Until then, for everyone listening, keep seeking truth, try to keep living with humility, and maybe most importantly, keep that heart open. Thank you so much for listening.